Hey everyone, if you want to make your own podcast but you don't know where to begin, Spotify for Podcasters makes it super easy. They've got everything in one place, it's totally free, and you can make money while doing it. Here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start doing it today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and pretty much everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also supported, and you can even conduct polls and Q&As. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, the platform is totally free. No catch, totally free. When I wanted to start my own podcast, I did not know where to begin, and I didn't think it was even possible. And Spotify for Podcasters made it happen. They made it easy, they made it quick, and I am doing something that I love. What more can I ask for? So if you're interested in starting your own show, you can do it, and I highly recommend you give this a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Kratom, the podcast about anything and everything Kratom. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday morning. Hoping all's well with you out there today as always. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about an experiment I did recently to see how much merit there is to mind over matter. And I guess this has been a theme recently. I've touched on this in a few episodes in different ways. In some ways, I think mind over matter is totally a thing. And I've found through various experiences and experiments that was the case. And I've talked about that in some episodes in this past season. So you should check those out if you're interested. Today I wanted to touch on a case where I think it's the limit, or at least one of the lines that mind over matter can't really get past for me. So I will explain that and get into it now. So I think the ultimate test, again, all this in my opinion, I think the ultimate test for mind over matter is whether you can do something and you like know that what you're doing is like lying to yourself, and you can make yourself still react in a certain way, even though you know that you shouldn't be reacting that way. So the experiment was not taking kratom one morning when I was going to, but basically telling myself, imagine that you just took kratom. Let's see if we can like mimic the sort of experience that you might get when you take kratom. So that's what I did. I pretended, I didn't really like actually go through the motions of taking it, but I was like, okay, you're sitting, here at your desk. Let's imagine that you are, taking out your green Mang Da or whatever it is. I chose one. I don't remember which one it was. And I was like, okay, you just took 2 grams. Take a drink of water. I took a drink of water. And then I was like, okay, there we go. Now let's start the day. And I tried to basically, it's not really tricking myself because I knew that I hadn't just taken it, but kind of like get my body to almost react the way that it would if I had actually taken it. Because I wanted to see how much of this is based on like routine of taking kratom when I do take it, and the actions and like the routine that, goes into taking kratom itself, and how much of it is actually the kratom itself. So this is of course not a blind experiment, and it wasn't really like a placebo experiment because again, I knew that I wasn't taking kratom. In an ideal world, I would be, thinking that I'm taking kratom and I'm being given something that is exactly like kratom, but it actually does nothing whatsoever, and then seeing how I react. But this was kind of more like a mind over matter experiment because I wanted to know that I wasn't taking it. And so let's see if I can, make my body kind of react the way it would otherwise. And also, let's see if I can get the motivation boost that I was hoping to get from kratom without taking it. Because if I can do that, that's great, that would be great. So I took it, but without taking it in the morning when I normally would. And then after that, I kind of just started off my day the way I normally would after that. And I think the one way that it did have some merit, like mind over matter, because overall this was kind of proof that it doesn't work in that, obvious, like a blatantly obvious example of I'm not taking kratom right now, but I'm pretending to. Like, it didn't work. I didn't end up experiencing the sort of effects that I experience from kratom when I do take it. And I think that it wasn't really a placebo thing or a placebo experiment. So I just was telling myself the whole time, even though I was trying not to, you didn't just take kratom. But at the same time, I think one thing that did happen, the fact that I was able to kind of like just get to work and get that motivation factor that I normally get from kratom, it wasn't as strong or powerful, and it took a lot of effort. But I kind of realized something. I realized that I can get myself into the groove on my own and get over that early morning, barrier that I talk about often without kratom, but not as effectively. It takes a long time. And if I was using kratom every single day for this thing, and I was like heavily dependent on it and or addicted to it, then I think that I would use this as an example of how maybe I could wean myself off of kratom, or not wean myself off, because I can stop. I stop for weeks at a time, months at a time, years at a time. I don't really, have any attachment to it, but it is a really useful tool. So I might use this as an example of like how I can stop using it, for the long term. But since I don't really have an issue with kratom, I kind of find it to be useful because I was able to sit down, pretend I took kratom, and then like get into the groove and get motivated after a long time and a lot of work, which is, I guess, just life for some people, including me, and that's fine. Not trying to make it seem like I want to be lazy, but it also made me appreciate kratom and how useful it can be, and how it's kind of like a shortcut in that way, and how just taking like a mere 1.5 grams of something of kratom can get me into that mode, within 2 minutes, instead of taking an hour and a half for me to totally get into the groove of the day and how I really want to be functioning that day. So it made me appreciate kratom. It also made me appreciate the fact that I can do that on my own. If it just takes, it takes some concentration, a lot of time, and almost like imitating the taking of kratom, or just not even imitating taking it, because I didn't. It's more just sitting down and like being like, okay, we're going to have an intentional start to the day. Maybe that's it. Maybe part of the kratom routine for me isn't actually the kratom. It's the intentional starting of the day. And that's a valuable lesson, actually. I hadn't really thought about that. I think that I'm going to take that one away with me, because that's very helpful. I'm learning something today, you guys. So I guess the moral of the story is I'm not able to trick myself knowingly into having the same sort of experience or effects of taking kratom when I don't take it, but I'm like, let's see if I can pretend to. But at the same time, I'm able to kickstart my day having an intentional like 30-second period where I'm like, I didn't take kratom, but let's have a swish of water and sit here for a second and be like, all right, we're going to get motivated soon. Now let's start. And doing that was, even though, less effective and took a long time, it still was able to get me into the groove. And so I can do that myself. That's good. And kratom's this useful tool for maybe when I'm having a day where I don't have much time and I really need to get into it, and it's going to benefit me and others for me to get into it quickly. But maybe I shouldn't rely on it for that reason so much. So maybe that's the takeaway. Okay, I'm going to sit with that for a little bit. I think that's interesting. The intentional start to a day. See, I'm learning like on the job here, you guys. This is really helpful for me. Thanks so much for listening. And we'll be back tomorrow with another introspective lesson, or maybe not. But either way, we'll be back tomorrow with something. And hope to have you here with me again. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.